Bowers wants to be a Titan. What the heck? We're going to talk about that right here on Titans today because it's a bombshell report, I'll tell you that. But I'm excited because draft season is getting closer and closer, and now we're starting to get interviews with players, and, well, stuff like this can come out. I asked the question, though, before we get going here on Titans today. Would you like it if the Titans drafted Brock Bowers in round 1, pick number 7? If you would, then type Y for yes. If you would say no, let's get an offensive lineman, let's get a wide receiver, then I want you to type in for no. What would you do here? Brock Bowers, Y for yes, in for no. Where does this report come from? Well, directly from the horse's mouth. Chris Sims has pretty solid evidence here. Usually players are tight-lipped on this question, but we asked Brock Bowers who he wants to play for. Quote, Titans. This is kind of wild. I'm just going to start off with that because, like he said, usually when you ask players this question, they are not going to say a team. That's just bad PR scheming. That's bad marketing. That just doesn't work at all. Now, with Bowers, though, he was straight, quick, said, I want to play for the Titans. I want you to play for the Titans too, man. You have been really amazing through your 3 seasons at Georgia and have been one of, if not the best tight end prospects over the last 10 years. His receptions continue to go up, and I don't want you to look at 2023 and be scared and say his stuff went down, his stats went down. Well, that was because he was injured for a portion of the year. But in 2022, 942 yards, 7 touchdowns. And then 2021, 13 touchdowns. 13. This guy's a beast. I'm just going to start with that. He knows how to catch the ball. I mean, the best comparison I could give to him is probably Kyle Pitts in college just because he's more of that receiving tight end. He's not exactly a blocking guy, although he can do that. He is going to go up the field. He's going to go in the seam. He's Travis Kelce. He's George Kittle. He is a top-tier tight end, and honestly, if he's asking, I want to play for the Titans, well then, as the Titans, you have a duty to give him that opportunity. Now, if we look at these guys, though, we got Chiggy Okonkwo, Teron Wesco, and John Wiley. Now, Wiley played pretty good. I honestly would classify him probably more as tight end too. But this depth chart is not bad. I'm not going to say that. And I think obviously Brock Bowers is not exactly going to be the first choice in terms of needs. Let's talk about Chiggy though real quick because I think it's more important to kind of say why this is not a knock on him, but more a boost for, I'd say, Brock Bowers. 54 receptions this year, 528 yards and a touchdown. He played well, was the second leading wide receiver, and everything he did was great this year. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's not good. I'm not going to sit here and say that he wasn't exactly the right choice and he hasn't been playing well. I'm not going to say any of that. The thing I will say, though, is this is great, but if you add in the fact that you could add Brock Bowers into that, it just creates for a more dynamic passing game all around the board. You obviously have DeAndre Hopkins. There's a potential you could sign T. Higgins. The offensive line could be dealt with somewhere else. But in that first round, if you get Brock Bowers, it just kind of adds into basically why you would want him, why you would get him, because ultimately, as much as I like Chiggy, Bowers is a generational player. He is a generational talent, and that is why I think that the Titans cannot skip out on him if he is still there at 7. I did mention, though, I said that the Titans do have needs besides just tight end. They have offensive line needs by a big margin. They have wide receiver needs. I think they need to figure that out. It's not just going to be DeAndre Hopkins next year kind of running around. Obviously, Burks could also do something as well, but let's kind of save that for another time. I want you to pick a position. If you were the Titans GM, if you were Ran Carthon, what position are you drafting here in round 1 at pick 7? Are you drafting Brock Bowers if he's available at tight end? And type T. If you're drafting Joe Alt, maybe the offensive lineman, draft or type OL. Or are you drafting a wide receiver? What position do you think the Titans need most here? TE for tight end, OL for offensive line, WR for wide receiver. All right, again, I love Okonkwo and what he has done. How he has grown as a player has been tremendous to see over this past year. The thing I continue to kind of bash on here is Brock Bowers is a generational talent. He has been labeled as the best tight end prospect ever. Not just in the past 10 years, not just in the past 20 years, ever. They're comparing him to the likes of George Kittle, the likes of Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski even. I mean, there are basically predictions of this guy becoming a Hall of Fame tight end, and it's not even going to be close. This guy has proven time and time again he knows what to do with the ball in his hands, he knows how to block, and he's a great route runner. Everything you could want from a receiving tight end is right there with Brock Bowers, and hopefully, the Titans have a chance to draft him. Now, the good news is you can go watch him if you get your tickets from Game Time. You can get $20 off your first purchase by using code TitansChat. But I know the big game is coming up on Sunday. If you want $100 off that, well, then guess what? We have a deal for you because you can get $100 off that ticket by using code Vegas100. Listen, it's in Vegas. We know you can save a lot of money with that $100 and turn it into a lot more. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for not only sports, but music, comedy, and theater events in your area. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. And as you can see, their app is super user-friendly. I got to be honest, I've used this for almost 7 months now, and I could not imagine switching to any other ticketing app. It's user-friendly, it's super simple, I get my tickets really cheap, and I'm a last-minute ticket type of guy. I'm not one to plan weeks in advance. I pull up the ticketing app Game Time, I get my tickets in literally less than 2 days before the game. And like I said, guess what? Last-minute tickets. Talk about the big game here on Sunday. Vegas100 is your code you're going to use to get $100 off that ticket if you're going. You can do a lot of money, with a lot with $100 in Vegas. Terms apply. Just download the Game Time app and use code VEGAS100 for $100 off the big game ticket. Or if you're not going to the game, use code TitansChat for $20 off your first purchase. And you can get that by downloading the Game Time app and getting your last-minute tickets at the lowest price guarantee. All right, Brock Bowers, his bio is absolutely filled with amazing things. He was a 2023 unanimous All-American. He was 2022 first-team All-American, 2021 second-team All-American. By the way, that 21 second-team All-American, he had 13 touchdowns. His positives, great long speed, and he's a threat to take one all the way every time he touches the ball because he's got a big body, but he's got speed. Now, I was looking around for pro comps and what exactly he reminds me of, and I think this one was the best fit. George Kittle, and just the way that he kind of formulates his body, his structure, and the way that he enjoys the game, it really reminds me of George Kittle. And so I went back. I wanted to see, okay, well, when Kittle got drafted, what was his first 3 seasons like in the National Football League? First year, obviously a little slow start, 500 yards, 2 touchdowns, but man, it did not last long. 1,000-yard receiver as a tight end in 2018, 1,000-yard receiver in 2019, 85 receptions, 5 touchdowns. I look at these stats. This is his first 3 years in the league. If Brock Bowers could do anything close to those stats, that would be awesome. I think that a tight end as a weapon would just make for this team to really, really grow into their offensive mindset. Obviously, Brian Callahan had a couple of decent tight ends with the Bengals, but I think it'd be really nice for him to kind of establish that right away. You have a top-tier wide receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. You trust in Will Levis. Your offensive line isn't the greatest, but if you pair that with a top-tier tight end, you work something out in free agency with some wide receivers. You draft a free agent wide receiver. You draft a wide receiver. You draft some offensive linemen. There's a lot of ways you could do that. Now, again, Brock Bowers wants to be a tight end, but does the Titans want him to be with them? Because here's their options. They're going to have these 4 guys probably as their top 4. Joe Alt, the offensive tackle from Notre Dame. Olu Fashanu, the Penn State offensive tackle who was labeled as a first-round draft pick last year, decided to go back to school. Brock Bowers, obviously we've talked about him, and the Malik Nabers, the wide receiver out of LSU, who is receiving comps as Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, obviously both LSU wide receivers as well. So I ask you this. I want you to be the GM, the owner, Brian Callahan, all 3 in 1. You have the pick. Round 1, pick 7. All 4 of these guys are available. Alt, Fashanu, Bowers, and Nabers. Who are you picking? You type in Joe Alt, and I want you to type JA. You picking Olu, type OF. You're picking Brock Bowers, type BB. If you're picking Malik Nabers, type MN. I'm curious to see what y'all choose here, but listen, this is your pick. It's technically not wrong, so get in there and let me know which one you would pick. You want my pick? I'll tell you. I would love the offensive line help, but I think Joe Alt would probably be my first choice. But the way Brian Callahan thinks, the Titans may be looking at a tight end and wide receiver. We've talked about how Brian Callahan had a quote that I'm not going to say went viral, but definitely popped some eyes open. He said that if you can draft people who can score touchdowns and are playmakers, that could maybe make up for some of the lack of protection and all that stuff. So, as much as I think I would like Joe Alt, I also would love Brock Bowers. I would love Malik Nabers. I think a tight end and wide receiver would be great. I'm not really mad at that. I think that Alt would probably be my pick just because of how poor the offensive line played. But there's offensive line options out there in free agency. You can always go out and get them. Now, same tone, there's wide receiver free agents out there, which is why I think Brock Bowers kind of makes sense because I don't remember a tight end. I don't think you can just go pick up a George Kittle or a Travis Kelce in free agency. That's just not going to happen. You know, you can draft one of them and what could potentially be the next George Kittle and Travis Kelce in Brock Bowers. We appreciate you watching. I know that we're all excited for draft season. Free agency is coming up here. And a lot of things going on. Obviously, we got the big game here on Sunday, but football is still going to be running and rolling right here on Titans Today all off season long. And we'll keep you updated. So hit that subscribe button, Titans Today, youtube.com. We'll have that little subscribe button down below as well. Click it. It goes from red to gray. It'll make me happy, and I'll put you on the largest growing Titans community on YouTube. We appreciate you as always. Tighten up.